So what's your understanding on the estimations and what are the different estimation techniques you're already aware of?
So according to me, estimation is like how much in like what is the complexity of that task that you are basically taking, the user story you are taking, what is the complexity. So we usually follow the Fibonacci series, like in the 3 9 21 14 21 and all these kind of, and based on previous uh task that we have achieved, complexity of the previous task we have done, based on that we basically give the complexity of the current task. So we set like if some task, if it is bit complex because we need to define the mandates also, like how many resource we need to put on that task based on the complexity. So if the task is taking around like 2 days, so we rate it as like around like 14 or 13, you can say 13. Okay, if it is like more than, it is going to take like 5 days around, it is like 55. If it is going to take whole sprint, then it is around 89. Or if it is like more than around like 337 or 244, then you need to break the user story so that they can be achievable in this sprint. This kind of thing we follow.
So today we'll discuss lot of other things which is completely not aligned with your right assumptions. Okay. Anyone else want to share like your understanding on the estimations?
Like in our case, the estimation is about see, the task is always allocated to one person primarily, and he or she is the owner of that ticket. However, if that requires a tester or a second developer, then we consider those in that task, and we define what is the total time taken from the development to the deployment of the task, and then we estimate the total time in maybe days primarily. So it's 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 6 days, and then that's the kind of estimation we do. We do not use any kind of process, like she said, Fibonacci series or anything like that. We just assume that okay, one story point is 1 day, so we'll just put the estimations according to that, and it's a global understanding that okay, if it says 2 days, the 2 story point, it means it's going to take 2 days to finish end to end.
Okay.
That's
So then you will also get a lot of surprise. Anyone else?
I know this is a wrong way, because story point is not equivalent to number of mandates. It's just that it is
We will talk about all
convenient
these
for the
things.
organization to do this.
Anyone else want to contribute?
No, but though it is not the right way, but even I've seen like most of the companies they use the same
Your
way.
voice is not clear, Vinayak. I don't know, might be because of the headphone or something, but
Oh, it's not clear.
no.
Okay. Okay. So it's like though it is not correct, it's like but still most of the companies they go for the same way, like one story, 1 day. And that time
Okay.
it
Anyone knows the reason why we have this relation, like one story is equal to 1 day or stuff? Because before jumping into the topic and stuff, I just want to understand where right now you all are stands, and then accordingly I will
So
start
one
the.
story is not a 1 day for us. Every task, subtask we create in that user story should be granularity of 1 day, so that we can track the progress of the user stories. Like if we have estimated like so where it stands, and when when based on the task we have created and completion or the status, we can identify when it is going, whether it is on track or not, and whether we are going to achieve this or not, or if there any risk we can see, so that can be mitigated before.
First of all, this is a traditional way of estimation. This is not an agile way of estimations, right? Where we are saying according to, we are assuming each subtask is having is equal to 1 day, and if there are 20 tasks, that means the story is equal to 20 story points, right? So that's the first thing which is not relevant. Second thing is, if we are doing estimations at the individual level, then there is no point. That's not agile suggests, right? Agile says if you're working as a team, if there isn't a scrum team, a combination of 4, 5, 6, whatever number of team members, then each and every team member should be capable to finish that work. So that means if you're saying, right, let's take an example. If this is a 10-story point, and 10-story point, because of that one developer, according to developer one, now developer one is going on a leave and developer two has to take that work. Then you're saying, no, it's not 10, now it's 20. The reason, because the developer two is a junior developer, or he's new in the project and stuff. So what we are doing is we are changing the estimates according to the individual developers. But when we are giving the timelines to our customers, to our clients, right, we are not giving according to each individual team members. What we are saying, okay, if this is a project, can we finish in 3 months? Can we finish in 6 months? We say, okay, yeah, it's doable. We can finish this in 6 months. That means the scope of the project is defined as 6 months. We are going to finish it. Now the question is how we are breaking down that project's feature, so that we can just give not an exact absolute estimate, but an relevant estimate. We'll say, okay, if this is a 6-month project, according to our experience, according to our team size and stuff, what we can deliver in the 6 months. Now it's totally depend on the client. Either we have to fix the time. We will say, okay, we have to release after 6 months. Then we will say, okay, if you have to release after 6 months, then what we can be finished in the 6 months, that we will do it. And that's again a range. There is again not a fixed time thing, like, or a fixed number of features we are going to do that. So those kind of things we will try to understand. But before going to understand those things, we have to understand in Agiles, we are not doing absolute estimates. In Agile, we are doing relative estimates. Now, what is the difference between relative estimates and absolute estimates? Then we have to understand. So we will understand from this picture. If you can see this picture, right, you can see there is an exact height. You know what is the height of this
Are you
house?
sharing
and
this
stuff, right?
sharing screen?
Oh my God. Okay, I just stopped sharing. Okay, now I'm sharing. I hope it's visible now.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you can see this, right? There's a difference. First, you have to understand what is the difference between absolute and relative estimates. You can see there are two pictures, right? This is in the right side. If you see, there is a picture of these are famous towers, right? And you can see exact number of what's the exact height of these towers. And now you know, if you are giving 1-story point to this, it's almost 5 times. So you can say it's 5 times, so it's 5. Now you're comparing this one with this one, you will say like it's almost like 3 times to this, so it's somewhere around like 13 point or something. But if I'm saying, can you give the same estimations for the size of these jokes? You don't know the exact height and stuff, right? So it's not easy for you to give an exact right estimate. Same thing is happening with us when we are giving. We can't give the absolute estimates, and the reason is because the kind of work we are doing, there are 4 major things which is really impacting our estimates. The first thing is, what is the complexity of the work? The work which you are doing, what is the complexity? Second thing is, what is the risk associated with this particular item? Is it really a critical stuff? If we are releasing this, if we are deploying in the production, how many existing features are having a risk? That's the second part, is risk. Third part is, what is the size? And the fourth part is, what is the dependency we have? So this particular user story or features or whatever item, what is the dependency we have? Until or unless we are not knowing all those 4 factors, we can't give an absolute estimates. And if we are giving an absolute estimates at each and every story point, then that's not Agile. What does Agile says? If you have a complex project, you just need to give in some relative estimates, okay, what you can deliver in 3 months and 6 months. And then after every sprint, after every 2 weeks, you have to break down those product backlog, and then you have to re-estimate. So if you're following Agile, if you are saying we are not estimating the whole product backlog, then how you can give an estimate of your project, how many months it takes? So to understand that part, we are doing in a relative estimates. That's what relative estimates is. If you can see right now, let me just first stop share. if you can see my video, I have this pencil in my hand, right? And then now I have this pen. Now you know the thickness, right? And you can say which one is having the thickness, right? The pen has the more thickness, this pencil. So if I will say this is one, then this is definitely not one. This is either 2 or 3. Now, if I will say you have to compare this marker with this. So if you're comparing this marker with this pencil, right? What you will say, this is definitely not 1, or even that's definitely not 3 or 2. Suppose this is 1, this is 2, then definitely this is not 2. This is either it's a 5 or it's 4 times or 3 times. 4 times, let's say 4 times of the pencil and 2 times of the pen. So that's how we are giving the relative estimates. We are just trying to relate these items, and then whatever we worked till now on the basis of our previous work, we are trying to compare the existing item. That's we are calling as a benchmark, what benchmark we have. So that's how we are doing our estimations even in the IT as well. So that's what relative estimate says. When you are doing a relative estimates, never try to compare exact size of the stories. Try to understand what is the complexity of these things. Now, let's take an example of this. And if you can see this picture, right? This is grapes, this is cherry, this is like apple, and then this
Share your
is
screen.
okay. Yeah. So you can see these, right? This is grapes, then this is cherry, then this is apple, then this is fruit, then this is watermelon, and this is pineapple. So if you are comparing these things, if I will say, okay, let's say this size of this grapes is 1. And then I will ask, okay, what was the size of the apple? Can you give me the exact number? If you're comparing an grapes and an apple? No, right? You can't give me an exact number. How big is the apple? And if I will say, can you compare this apple and can you give me a number of, let's say, now I will say, let's say apple is 1. Now if apple is 1, and I will say, okay, can you just give me a number for this watermelon? Can you give me the number of watermelon?
No, we cannot give it. We give relatively 10, 20, anything like that.
Sorry.
We
what you
cannot
said?
give a fixed number of this.
Yes.
No?
So that's the thing. If we can't give the number on these physical objects, same thing how we can give the exact number for the stories or for the work which we haven't started. Because once we start working on that, then we are going into depth, and then we realize what is the actual requirement of that story, and then we can give it a number. But the way we are working in the sprint planning mode, in the 2 weeks mode, where during the sprint planning we are trying to estimate our work, and then we are saying, okay, how much story points for this particular item is. Now, until or unless you are not evaluating each and individual item, then how you can estimate these things. So to understand and to resolve all these conflicts, we introduce this concept of relative estimate. Now, if I will say this grapes is, let's assume in a size of extra small. And we have a list of size where extra small, small, medium, large, or extra large. And then I will say that if this graph is extra small, where you will fit the cherry in your graph? You will say it's definitely bigger than the extra small, so it will be small. And then I will say, okay, can you compare this watermelon? Then you will say, if I'm comparing this with the cherry, then definitely it's not looks. If this is the range between extra small to small, then definitely it's not a medium. Either it's in a large or it's an extra large. So these are the relative estimates. So what we are going to understand today is why we are doing the relative estimates, what benefit we will get from the relative estimates, and what are the techniques we are using for the relative estimates. Okay. So this is the difference between, first of all, absolute and relative, why we are using relative estimates, and how is it beneficiary, that we will try to understand. For that, we will come to this, which is says why. Why we need this relative estimate, we already discussed, right? When we are sharing, we are trying to identify the risk, the prioritization plans. So these things are factor where we'll say we can't give an absolute number because there are a lot of unknowns in that particular story. So we can't give a number, okay, it will take 2 days. I can say, okay, it will take 2 days, put a 2 story points. If you have a relation, first of all, there is no relation, we will talk about that as well. But let's assume the way we are working right now, there is a relation of 2 story points equal to 2 days. And then I will say, okay, if this is the number of stories we have, let's make it, okay, give it 2 story points. Now, when we actually try to starting our work, then we realize it's very complex. This particular story have a dependency on the other stories. And for this particular story, when we actually start working on the implementation, we also identify 2 new scenarios which are not discussed here. So you might have to clarify with your business as well. So these are the things and unknowns we have. So when we are giving these relative estimates, we are also giving we are just giving under according to these factors. If this is a relative, if this is this particular story having 2 unknowns, if this particular story have like some risk, we will say if there is no risk, then I will say it's a small. But according to our previous experience, these kind of work are also associated with some kind of a risk. So it's better if we given some higher estimate. So instead of small, you will say we want to give it a medium, because you are also estimating the risk. You're also estimating the dependencies. And according to that, you are giving your estimates. So that's how these things can help me. Yeah, Megha?
Yeah, so Chetan, as we are talking about absolute and relative estimation, so if I am new to the organization, or I am recently joined the new project, and where the components are unknown. So for me, that task, what we are estimating, maybe cost higher. And in the sprint planning, you even don't know like to whom this task is going to assign. So like how we can estimate relatively, because I don't have the exposure to the component, and I don't know how complex it is going to for me, it is going to be for me. And it can be extra small or small for anyone who is who is gel well in the team. But for the newbies or someone, it can be like large or something. So how we can estimate in that case?
Yeah. So when we are doing our actual activities, when we are playing the roles, at that time we will consider this scenario as well. Okay. So I will not go into detail right now, but when we are giving the estimates, that's the part of this activity. Might be when you're giving the estimate because you are a newbie, you will say it's large for you, but the other person who is already working in the same project for last 2 years, the same person says it's a small for me. Now, when you both have 2 different numbers, you are having a discussion. And then during the discussions, we will try to understand. Because you are a newbie, it's a responsibility of your team to give you some context of the story, why they think it's a small. And then you will say, it's fine, but still I'm not convinced. It's still at least medium for me. So according to considering your experience, we will go with the medium instead of saying the large. But this discussion is very important, where the people who are completely new in the teams, we are also taking that factor as under consideration when we are giving the estimations, right? But generally we are giving an estimations not according to individuals, according to the whole team, what the whole team thinks. And for that purpose, we are having, there's a concept of benchmark stories. So we will talk about that as well when we are actually doing the second part of today's workshop is when we are actually role playing, we will do that. Now
Okay,
this is the why part. Yeah.
one more question, like let's say if you say like the task is small or extra small or large, so how you basically identify like whole team can or dev team can estimate it more, but according to QA it can be less. Okay, so we need to take care. In some cases it can happen like there is small change for a dev team, but for QA team it is high. So how to estimate in that case? Another thing is like if how to basically quantify, like if we need to justify also, na, like why this task is small, why this task is large. So how we justify, like in my previous organization, we were justifying it, because people can ask managers can ask you questions after the sprint, like if it is the complexity was 55 or something else, so you can say large, so you need to justify it, what are the different tasks you have think of, that's why you are marking it as large, and why you are not marking it as small. So how to manage those situations also.
That's very important. See, until or unless you don't know the real, real complexity of the story. Let's say you're saying you have to justify your numbers. How you can justify if you know what you have to do, what effort you have to put it. You like if you aware of those things, it's easy for you to justify. You can say because I have to do these x number of test cases executions, I have to do these y number of integration testing as well. And that's why it's large for you. But in the scenarios where the story is discussing very first time and you say, I don't know what is the real effort of testing required, that's the refinement is, that's the part of the refinement. If any of the team member, if he or she is not clear about what they have to really work on, it's a responsibility of the product owner to give the business context first, and it's a responsibility of the other team members, the technical leaders, or the other developers to just help that particular team member to understand. Let's take an example. Let's take the same scenario where you don't know what is the real. You discuss one user story, and you really don't know what is the actual QA effort is required for that story. And then you will say, I can't estimate this because I don't know what's the real QA estimate is required. Then your developers will help you. They will say, we are doing these kind of a work, and you might have to test these particular scenarios, and because we are doing these changes, and it can be impact on these 3 other screens as well. So you have to test on these 3 screens as well. Now they give you context. Now you have a technical context, and your product owner also give in a scenario based context what we have to achieve under that story. And from the business point of view, this is the expectations we have. These are the number of acceptance criteria we have. So now you have a business context. Now you have a technical context as well. Now you are in a better stage where you can at least give some numbers. Still, you are not that much confident. So you will say, it looks for me it's a small, but because there are these 3 unknowns where still I have to identify, I have to just go through and investigate. For now, my estimates is medium, but might be when we are meeting next time, I can also just till the time I will go through with this, and if I have to change the estimates, I will let you guys know, and then we will do that. It's not a hard rule where we have to give, okay, if the 90% of team members say it's a small and one team member says it's a large, it can large as well. The reason is that one person who is really giving the large, he might have a better understanding of that particular product or that particular scenario, where the rest of the team might miss that scenario. That's why we are doing this whole exercise where if one person says it's large, 5 other team members say it's small, then we will go in a discussion, and those 5 team members says they are putting their point of view why it's a small, and that one person is also putting his or her point of view why it's large. And then after the discussions, either the person who says large, he convinced from the idea of the others, or might be the other team member, they understand why, what are the scenarios they missed, and they will say, yeah, I mean, after hearing this particular scenario, it's definitely not small. We can go with medium, or we can go with large. So that's the important part of this estimations, which we will do during this. Okay, let's move forward. Then second part is who we really need during the estimations and who should do the estimations. You see the name of the product owner, team, stakeholders, facilitators. But in reality, product owner is only to give you a business context. Stakeholders, if we require during the refinement to clarify any specific scenario or any specific business requirement, then only we invite. And the facilitator is definitely, if you are playing the role of Scrum Master, then you will be the facilitator. The whole exercise where we need an estimate, it's only and only development team. When you're doing the estimations, make sure your product owner is not giving any estimates, and your product owner never try to influence as well. Influence in the sense when the whole team says it's a medium and product owner says, no, it's a small, it's not medium. Product owner cannot give an estimate of small or large. He or she can question the estimates. He says, in the past, we worked on a similar kind of a work, and at that time it was small. Then why it's a medium now? Then it's a team's responsibility to give the context in the past why the previous story was small and why this one is medium or large. But product owner cannot give the estimates, cannot be part of the estimates, and cannot influence the team to change the estimates. The only role of the product owners to just clarify the queries of the team members related to the business. That's it. Even if your product owner is either it's a technical, it's better if he or she is not giving any technical advice as well. If they really want to suggest something, they can do that, but they cannot say why you are going in this approach, why you are not taking the different approach, because I also worked in the past and that approach is better and best and stuff. That part product owner should leave on the team, because at the end, product owner is not the one who's really working on developing. It's the team who's really working and developing that particular story. So that's important part. Whenever you are part of any estimations, make sure your product owner is not giving the estimates. If they are giving, you all are free to just interrupt your product owner and just say, it's better if you're not giving the estimates, because your estimates might influence the team. So that's the reason. And the Scrum Master also not giving the estimate, because they are only the facilitators. Because they are actually not working on the stories. At the end, development team has to work. So only they have to give the estimates. So that's the important part, and who is going to give. And then next part is when we are doing the estimation. That's also an important part when we are doing the estimations. At what stage we have to do it. So the first stage is when we are breaking down the product backlog into the stories and features. At that time, we are breaking into smaller stories. At that time, we can also do the estimates. Or the second part is when we are doing our sprint planning. At that time, we can also change the estimates. If suppose during refinement, you said it's a 3 or it's a small or it's a medium. Now, after 3 days, you have your sprint planning. Now, in those 3 days, you go through with that item and you also identify a couple of gaps. And then you can also say, in the last meeting, we gave it a small or a 3, but now it's a medium or large. Now you have to convince your team why it's a medium and large. You said last time when we discussed, these are the scenarios we missed. Now, if we are considering these 3 extra scenarios, then definitely it's a more than what we estimated. So it's absolutely fine if we are changing the estimates. But these things should be happen before starting the sprint, either in the refinement or in the sprint planning. During the sprint, sometimes we also identify the same situations where when we start working on that particular item, initially we say it's a 5 or it's a small. And when we actually start working on that, we also identify there are 3 more areas which are really impacting, which we missed. So what we will do now? So first of all is we are just quickly check with our team, and then we'll say these are the 3 new scenarios we missed. Now, because during the development identify, we have to look into these as well. So definitely it will increase your scope. And when we are doing these things, we have to include product owner as well, because if you are increasing the estimations, definitely you have to move out something your planned work. Because that's not, let's say if you said it's a 5-pointer, during development you realize and you say, no, it's not 5, it's 8. And your only capacity to take in the sprint is 8. So, and you already take 1 3-pointer, then it's product owner's goal. Either those new 3 scenarios, he can create under new stories if they are not a dependent thing, or he can say the other stories we can drop from the sprint, and this same story we can just increase from 5 to 8 and we'll do that. So those kind of work we are doing. So we will do all of these things in today's workshop. So this is the part when we are really starting. The first thing is this is our starting point when we are starting our refinement. When we have our product backlog, at least some of the items we have in the backlog, and then we are estimating this. Now this is the when we are do it, how we are do it, or who is the participation, that part. Now what we will do is we will try to understand the different estimation techniques. There are a number of different estimation techniques which different organizations are using, and none of them is better or best. It depends on the project. It depends on the understanding of the team. According to them, they are choosing the estimation techniques, and all the estimation techniques have the same advantage and disadvantage. Okay? So I'm not saying this is the best technique, you should use it, or this is not a best technique, you have to use it. If we are going in the global market conditions, then StoryPoint is the one which is globally used in 80% of the projects. And then after that, we have a t-shirt sizing. Then we have a bucket prioritizations. So these are the different kind of estimation techniques we are using. So what we are going to understand today is we are only focusing on StoryPoint estimations and the t-shirt sizing estimations. So first we will do try to understand t-shirt sizing, where we will do it, what is the best place where we can use the t-shirt sizing, and then we will move into the activity mode. Then we will switch back into StoryPoints and we'll do that. Okay. So before going into this, let me quickly share this link with all of you, and then because you also have to I'm just sharing the link in the chat. Just let me know if you can access this link. And it's better if you all can quickly try to open this, because you also have to be attend this as a participant, and you might need an access of this board. This is a different tool. This is not Mural. This is Miro. So I'm not sure if it requires a sign up or not. That you can just quickly check. Anyone get the access?
It needs sign up, Chetan.
Okay, so you can just quickly do that. I think I'm just seeing. Okay, now I think. Okay, Neha and Mega already got the access. In the left side, you will see this sidebar, right? What if you need to do an easy access, you just need to click on the sidebar, which is at the bottom left corner. And then here you can see the thing. So what you have to do is, the first slide is check-in. So you all have to click on this check-in, and let me know if you all have the access now. Vinayak, Shravan, Nitin, Surbhi.
That is without logging in, or how's it?
I think it requires sign up, so you can just do it. Yeah.
Okay, one second.
Okay, so I'm on the check-in section. What do we have to do after that?
You're in check-in, right? So this
Yeah.
is just to make sure you all have access and you can do that. You can see there are a couple of smileys,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your hand. So what you have to do is, you have to just pick one hand and you have to put how you feeling now.
Okay.
Okay. You're feeling sleepy, you're feeling shit, you're bored, you need a coffee.
Okay, this is like mood check for your team
Yes.
before
So
the
you have to
scrum.
just pick one hand at the top, and then you have to put it in front of how you're feeling. So it's just a drag and drop. So just make sure you all are familiar with the Miro.
Yeah.
I'm not able to find check-in option. Where it is? Can you show
Just
it?
go in this. You can see my screen.
Yeah.
Here you can see this open sidebar.
Yes.
Just click here, and
Okay.
then the first slide is check-in.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Shravan, Vinayak, you also on the board, right?
Yeah.
Nitin, and Surbi,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you can get the access. So now what you have to do is you have to just drag and drop these hands. You can see in the check-in, and with the help of or you can see my screen and you can do that. Yeah, you just need to pick one hand and then you have to drop in front of any of the smileys. How you feeling?
And don't drag the smiley.
Mega is still trying to figuring out.
Yeah, Mega figured out.
Yeah. Okay. Shravan and Vinayak.
Yeah, once.
Just go on this sidebar
One
at the
second.
bottom left, and then you can just go into this check-in and how you can get the access.
Which can you just show once more?
Okay, this is the
Fine.
sidebar, right? You can see here.
Okay,
So
okay, huh.
just click here, and then the first slide is check-in.
Okay.
This is the common practice when we are going with the tools. First 5 minutes is taking to give the idea how you can access it.
One of my client has a paid access to Miro, so I am like, she's very happy. Everything is on Miro. The information is too much that at times Miro does not load.
I'm also planning to purchase it, but actually the cost is I mean, Mural is good, but Mural is slightly higher than this Miro. So I'm just exploring which one should I purchase.
Miro is
According-
good. It has got its like predefined templates. There are like a lot of predefined templates.
Mural is having some 10,000 plus templates.
But then it's expensive also. Like
It's
you said.
expensive by $2,
Okay.
$3 actually, including tax. It's $3.
Compare the annual price. Maybe you will have a better understanding.
Someone move the smiley.
Okay. Okay.
हमारे तो कूल वाला स्माइली खो गया है.
I mean, someone
टी शर्ट पे लटका हुआ है वो.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a fun. Next time I will log all these things so that you can't
Okay.
use it.
Okay.
Okay, now you all have access, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Vinayak, now you
Yes.
figure out, right? Okay, because this is important when we are doing the exercise. So the next thing is why what is t-shirt sizing where we can use it. So why we are only talking about these two techniques is because these are majorly used in most of the projects, the t-shirt sizing and the story point estimations. It's not a predefined where we can use it, but it's better if we understand. Generally, t-shirt sizing is when we are doing a high level estimate. High level estimates means when we are giving an estimate for an at the feature level or an epic level, when we are giving an estimate for a project, okay, how many months we really need or how many days we really need to finish that particular thing, where you can't quantify the work in number of hours or in number of days. So what we are doing is we are just putting one relation between these things. If you can see my screen, there is a relation on the t-shirt sizing where we'll say if something which you can finish less than 1 week, we'll call them extra small. If something which you can finish in 1 to 3 weeks, we are calling it as small. So this is just a range. Something which really needs more than 10 weeks, we are calling it extra large and medium. Now, how this estimations help? Let's take an example. You are doing you're in a discovery phase in a project. Now you have to give some estimates how many really sprints or how many months you really need to finish those 10 features. Now, what you will do is you include your technical architects, senior developers, and your QA leads or managers or someone from the business side and try to just give some rough estimates. Now, when you're doing at that level, you are not having in-depth detail of each and every requirement because that's a high level. Let's take an example. You have to build a new e-commerce platform and you only know there are 10 features the client requires. The first thing is the login, which includes login, sign up, forget password. This is the one. Then the list of shopping. Then there's a cart option, then payment option, and then some save, save for later kind of features and some kind of a sorting in your cart. So when you're doing these kind of discussions with your client, you only know the high level, what the real requirement of the client. So you list down those like 10 or 15 requirements. You create those 15 requirements into your product backlog. But you still don't know when you say client is looking for a login, signing and page, what level of security he needs, what level of designs they need, what kind of different login options they need. Might be in a authenticator, multi-factor authenticator, or like any kind of a different kind of captcha they're looking. So you don't know all these details. What you know is what is the high level projects, the features they need. So what you do at that time, you're just only including your senior technical members from the team who already built these kind of things in the past. So now you're sitting on a round table and you're giving some high level estimates. Okay, for this particular project, we have to give some rough estimate to our client. So let's do the estimations. At that time, we are using t-shirt sizing estimates because there is a relation in terms of the weeks, and it's not mandatory in weeks. If there's something which is a very critical project, we can just move it and we make it in months as well. So it's an up to us how we are defining these. When we say it's an extra small, means something which you can finish in less than 1 month. Medium means something which needs 4 to 6 months. Large means 7 to 9 months, or some feature which is really need more than 10 months of time, you will say extra large. So when you're doing these kind of t-shirt sizing, suppose you have 10 items. Now you estimated all 10 items and there are 4 small, 3 L and 2 XL. So just going with these, some of these average, you at least given a high level number, how many weeks or how many months you really need to develop those 10 features. Now you can at least go with to your client and you can say, if you really need those 10 features, this is the number of this number of weeks or number of months the team is really required with the composition of this particular 4 team members or 5 team members team. At that time, we are using t-shirt size where we don't know in-depth detailing. When we know the detailing, when we are following the invest principle, where we can easily create number of stories, where we can easily create tasks, subtasks, that means your stories are defined at the granular level. Then you can go with the story point estimates. And that's the second part of your backlog refinement. So what we will do is now, we will just first quickly start our first activity. And what we will do is, some of you have to play the product owner role. So who is interested to play the product owner role? Okay, Neha will be the product owner. Who will be the scrum master?
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Vinayak will be the, okay, Megha or Vinayak? I get 2 nominations.
Anyone.
Next time, in the next scenarios, we will shuffle the role.
Yeah.
Okay, so Vinayak will be the scrum master, Neha will be the product owner, and rest we five are the developers. Okay, so now what we will do is, Neha, and this is our requirement. If you can see my screen, this is my requirement. What we are doing is we are building an electric vehicle. Okay, and for this electric vehicle, there is a feature requirement from the client. They want to see the view battery status on electric vehicle. So this is the summary of this new requirement. And now here is Neha will just quickly give a brief what is really required and what is the goal we have. Okay, so Neha, and then what we will do is, we all are the developers. We all feel free to ask the questions. Okay, what according to under. So we all also, once Neha explained this detail and the goal, we all can ask the question, and then Vinayak will help us to complete the estimations part. Is it clear what we have to do it?
Yes.
Okay, now let's ask the, let's go to our product owner, and then product owner is going to give us a requirement. What is the requirement is?
So, hi guys, from the client, I've received a new feature request. I will be briefing you the requirement and the goal of this new feature request, and then we will together discuss what are the tasks associated with this requirement and the estimation together. So the task that the client has requested is about showing the battery status on their electric vehicle, and for this they have given me the details. So our customer would like to be able to check how much charge they have got in their vehicle. Then this is so that they can ensure they complete their journey without running out of charge, or alternatively, this will encourage them to go see the nearest charging station. This is a small experiment to see whether our customer are getting value from this feature. So this is the brief description of this requirement. And the goal of this requirement is to track the number of users who travel with greater than 10% battery status. Example suggests customer have more trust in the battery life. So this is the brief requirement. Let's discuss what are possible tasks that we need to do in order to build this feature for an existing project.
Actually, this is less than
Yeah,
10.
sorry, my bad. Less than 10.
Yeah.
So less than 10. So like when the battery of the vehicle is less than 10, is that customer have the trust on that vehicle, it will at least survive on 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers and stuff. So we have to give that kind of a reporting the status to the customer so that they have a trust on that electric vehicle. Oh, now I got an alarm of the 10%, and I know in the less than 10%, it can survive 5 kilometers on 10 kilometers. So where I have to go and I have to charge. So that confidence we have to build. So to get the confidence of the customer, we have to build this feature. Now we all are the developers. Any one of us can be a QA and a backend developer and a database engineer. So it's a mix of us, right? Now we can ask the queries to Neha if the requirement is not clear. If any one of you have any queries, you can ask, and then Neha will try to explain the requirement.
So Neha, I have one question here, like how you want to generate the alert, like if it is less than 10%, so you just want to give the message or something, or you want to showcase that over the electric vehicle through some kind of UI thing, like it is symbolized in over your vehicle. So in what kind of alert you want to have?
So I think first of all, the requirement is to showcase the battery status similar to the way we have it on our cell phone. So once we have that that section visible on the system, then as and when we reach the 10% battery status, similar to what we have in cell phone, we can convert the green color, maybe when it's 100% charged, we can make a yellow color at 50% and then red at 10%. That will show that, okay, they are less than 10, they are like they have reached the 10% battery status, and it's red in color in terms of showing. And we can have a voice note saying that, okay, you have reached your 10% battery status.
Are we
Yeah,
sending any message as well, or it's only like we have to show on the display of this?
I think we can have a pop-up notification that, okay, your battery is now reached the 10%, and then after the pop-up is dismissed after 10 seconds, we can change the color of the battery bar into red.
But is that a relevant requirement? Because if I'm driving a vehicle, I'm not looking at my mobile, right? So what's the point of getting the notification on the mobile or something? That's
No, not the mobile, on your screen.
Okay, vehicle display. Okay.
Vehicle display. It's
Yes,
Okay.
speedometer.
yeah. Why I was referring to mobile is because electric vehicle and mobile phone goes hand in hand. So and the battery display on the mobile and the electric vehicle, we can use that reference because both of them is going to give the same confidence that a person has when they have 20% battery on their phone. They still feel that, okay, I can take this phone another 1 hour. So I think we are trying to build the same kind of a confidence for the electric vehicle here as well.
Neha, I have a question. When we have any API from which we have get a electric your battery status it is it consume 80%, 90%. Like how we get the information? After that we have generate pop-up and alert anything. So there is any API, which we have use a battery.
From since it's an electric vehicle, you get an alert when you when you charge.
No, my question is it is electric vehicle. Okay, and electric battery is put in the vehicle. How we know कि 90% battery is consumed? Right.
So
there is any API and there is
thing-
any source how we get the information. After that we have work on the application of system and
So
module.
this is a combination of both electrical and the application primarily. So in like if I refer to the mobile phone, when you see the battery battery display on your phone, when you charge it, you know that it's 100% charged. So when the idea is to show the battery status, is that you know that your vehicle is 100% charged, and obviously there is going to be a electrical mechanism built in the vehicle that will give the data to the application that okay, the vehicle is charged 100%, or the consumption is going one.
I think we are
as we are
thinking
going.
from an IT development perspective, but this is not an IT development, right? This is a machine development basically. So there is no API concept. There is no API concept.
We consider it we have get the data from electric vehicle to any server.
That's not mentioned, right? That's we just confused
So
with
that's
the
why I
mobile
asked the question.
example.
But we assume that we have already get the information.
Yes. I mean, yeah, this is the right question. Is this the data what we are getting in the screen? Are we also capturing in some kind of a like app? Because nowadays most of the electric vehicles also providing apps where you can also see the status and stuff. So are we showcasing the same alerts and messages in mobile as well? Is that the part of this feature, or is it is not enough? Is there a separate feature for that?
Okay.
Basically, while discussing itself, you come to know like basically what's the actual motive of the project. Otherwise, if you are under some assumption, so you might develop a wrong project.
So these kind of situations, like Neha, right now you don't know the context of do we really building in a mobile application as well and stuff, right? What we can do is
I sorry to cut you in. I have complete understanding that this has nothing to do with mobile application. This has something to do what we see on the web, on the car dashboard screen,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And think of the battery status as similar to what you see in a petrol driven car, that if you had your tank is full, your bar on your petrol capacity says full, and then as in when you are using your vehicle, your capacity goes down. In the similar fashion, for the electric vehicle, on your dashboard screen you will be looking at the battery status, and as in when you are driving your vehicle, your battery status will reduce. That is the first requirement. This display is going to be on the inside the vehicle, or on in front of the screen of the driver.
Yeah, so
if that is not clear, I would want to clear
that. That what we did is you clarify the current requirement, but there are some questions like what Sarvan asked. These are not relevant to this the current feature, might be, but this can also be one of the potential idea which we can also implement. Like after discussing these things, you can also pitch in your client. Yeah, I mean, this is also an interesting idea. We can also build an app where we can also send an alert, or so for the performance, for the records of the vehicle, like how many hours or how many kilometers it goes below 10% and stuff. So when we have these kind of things and these kind of open questions, which is not relevant to this particular features, we will park those things. That's why you can see in the screen, there is like section. There is a section of questions. There might be a couple of questions which we don't know the answers. You might have to clarify with the client, customers. You also might have to investigate. So you can park those questions. There are a couple of risks as well when we are discussing the features and whatever implementation we are thinking right now. We might have some kind of a risk as well. So we'll list down all these things. Risk, what are the different ideas to achieve this particular goal? What are the concerns we have as in a team who's really working on this particular feature? If they have any concerns, what assumptions they made. Like right now, we made one assumptions like we have to show the same data in mobile as well. So that's our assumptions. Sometimes similar assumptions we also made, which might be true or might be incorrect as well. So what we will do is we will just write down all of these things, and then we will going, okay, now we know what are the risk, questions, concerns, assumptions we have. And according to our experience, what we will do is we are going to estimate this. Now our Scrum Master will help us to drive these estimations. Vinayak?
Yeah. So one sec, just looking into the tool form.
Your voice is very low, Vinayak.
Meanwhile, can I ask one more question?
Mhm.
Product owner. Yeah, so here the goal is like where we have to track the number of users that have a battery life less than 10%. So what is the idea about it? Like what we want to achieve out of it? Like why we want to get the number of users whose batteries is less than 10. So what use case we are going to implement out of it?
See, the idea is that if people are using the vehicle even under less than 10% battery status, that means that they have confidence that for 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, they can still use our car without getting worried about the next charging station, or without worrying about not being able to reach the destination. So idea is that every time when we know a person has hit the 10% mark, we will add a flag to that user, and we know that, okay, if we have 100 vehicles in the market on road, and 60% people are still using the vehicle even less than 10% battery status, that means then our battery is trusted and it's good, and customers have confidence in our battery, that they don't need to charge the battery continuously just to be on the safe side.
And basically, we are just using this data for the marketing and sales. So suppose now what we are going to do is we are just trying to understand, can we get this number of data? How many users are really having the confidence when even the battery is less than 10, are really using the vehicle? Are they driving 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers because they have a confidence in the particular vehicle? So we are using the same data when we are doing the marketing to sell more items. I would say 80% of our customers are having the confidence, and this is the level of battery we have, where even your battery is less than 10%, you can still drive at least 10 to 15 kilometers. That's the surety we will give you. So when you're giving these kind of surety to your new client, you're just giving in a confidence, and that's why they should buy your vehicle instead of some other competitor's vehicle. So that's why the business is really understand, and can we get these kind of a data, so can we use them to sell more items, right? So that's the requirement. So Vinayak, are you back or still you have the issues? Otherwise, what I will do is I will play the Scrum Master role for this particular feature. You guys have to do for the next, okay? Because we have to move with the story point estimations as well. So now you all discuss all the features and requirements and stuff. What you have to do is there are you can see there are a couple of stickies, right, with the name of M, S, S, and L. What you have to do is you have to just drag the particular sticky and you have to drop near to the t-shirt. What you think, according to you, is it in a small, is it in a medium, is it in a large, is it in an extra large? And the comparison you can see below the t-shirt, like L means something which takes 7 to 9 weeks. We are moving again in the weeks. If you think the whole feature development takes 7 to 9 weeks, you can just pick L. If you think it takes 1 to 3 weeks, you can pick S. So just pick a sticky and put it near to the black t-shirt. Okay, just drag and drop. Yeah. Vinayak, you can also drag and drop this time. One sticky. I mean, you can also like put any blank stick and then you can also write on that. That also fine. Or there are already 4 stickies where you can see the numbers. I will also write here Excel as well. If someone thinks it's an Excel, you can also drag and drop this Excel as well. I can see there are 2L. Anyone else? Nitin or Vinayak, are you also dragging or dropping anything? Okay, now I think there are only 3. Surabhi is not here, she dropped. So it's fine. So now we get 3L. So that means we all are confident it will take equal to L. And it's because we all are at the same numbers. What we will do is we will change the number of this feature as L. And I'm ignoring Neha right now. The reason is because Neha is a product owner and we are not considering product owner's estimate. What Neha did, Neha just drag an M and put it here because she tried to influence us. And that's, we have to avoid it. When your product owners try to influence you, just try to ignore your product owner. That's the best way to do it. Okay, so now we understand. Suppose instead of this 1L, if suppose because I'm also a developer initially, then because of Vinayak, this doesn't have the this thing. So what I will do is, suppose I put this S here. So now what we have 3L and 1S.
Yeah, Chetan, please put one Excel.
I mean, it's fine. Whatever you want, you can put it. So now you
Yeah.
can see there is one Excel, 3L, 1S. So that means there is some disagreement between the team. So as a Scrum Master, now what we will do is we will ask the team, like we can ask the team member who gave S and Excel, why they think it's an S, right? So if I am the developer and I see it's S, I can give my point of view why I think it's S. So after hearing all these things and question and concern, why I'm giving S is because right now there are already a lot of open source applications who are already building these kind of features, right? We don't have to build the same thing from scratch. We can just directly pull the code from those open source websites, and we can directly use that in our system. So this is not a completely new requirement, which is completely unknown. It's easy for us to do it. That's why, according to me, and even we don't have to. We are not thinking to integrate this when any mobile application and something, because this is only a killer feature where we have to just capture the data and put it in somewhere. So that's why I feel it's S. This is my point of view. Now, either you guys can agree with me and you can also say, I mean, yeah, it's fine, but it's not S. We can also come from L to M. Or you can say, no, it's not you guys have to build it from the scratch, and that's why you feel it's L. Even after the discussions, same thing, we will try to hear whoever gave the Excel as well, why the particular team members thinks it's an Excel. And after the agreement, what we will do is, we all will be doing the same. If anyone wants to change their estimate. Now, after hearing this, I will say, yeah, I mean, it's fine. What I will do is, I will make it M. So it's not S. After hearing the point of view of Excel, I will change it to M. Now we have 3L, 1M, and might be this guy also says after the discussion, okay, it's not Excel, it's L. After discussion, this is the final. We have majority says L, only one team member says M. So we will go with the majority after the discussions. This is not a case of each and every time, but if the individual person who is not having any specific reason why he or she is giving a low number or high number, and we couldn't conclude, then we will go with the high estimates always, not with the low estimates. So instead of this, if there are 3 people says M and 2 people says L, then we will not go with the majority. We will go with L, because these are feature level estimates. Even if you have like 2 team member thinks it could take more time, and we are doing a high level estimate, so we always go with the high numbers instead of giving the low number. So then if these 2 says XL and these 3 says L, then the size of this particular feature will be XL instead of L. Now this is the one feature estimate. That means it takes around like 10 to 12 days or 10 to 15 weeks, sorry, 10 to 15 weeks. Same exercise we will do for all 10 features, and then we will have some number of weeks, how many weeks we need to complete those 10 features. And then it's a product owner's responsibility to propose the same to the client. Now we did a high level discovery phase, we did a high level estimations. and according to the team, these number of weeks or these number of months we really need to complete the role feature. So that's how we are using the t-shirt sizing. Is this concept of t-shirt sizing and estimation is clear to everyone, or you still have any queries? If it's clear, then we will quickly do a next 5 minutes for next feature, and this time someone else will be the product owner. Who wants to be the product owner now?
You nominate.
Okay, so Megha will be the product owner. Who will be the Scrum Master? Sharban?
I am not interested in Scrum Master role.
Okay. Who wants to play the Scrum Master role?
Okay,
Vinayak,
give
your
the
role
product
is?
owner own role to Shravan. I take care of Scrum Master.
Okay, Shravan will be the product owner and then Megha will be the Scrum Master. Let's do it. So this is our second feature where we have to build the performance report of the battery, and we have to store somewhere, and we have to give it to our sales team or marketing. This is the high level. Now we have to go into detail.
Hi team. Hi team. In this we have already estimated one task, and this is second task. In which we
Feature.
have
This
received
is very important part. Features. These are not tasks. Task stories are granular level.
No, this new feature in which we have get this information and share alert information through app to the user in day and week and month wise. Apart from this, we have also sent battery estimation life in a day through a app and next appropriation battery charge date based on the battery consumption of a car, of an electric vehicle. And our main goal is to track the battery life and keep the customer update with the performance. So if you have any query, you can ask me and share your feedback and suggestion.
Okay, I have a query. Like, are we sending these through email or they are only?
No, we can
app?
use through an app. Already they say that we send battery performance report on app in form of day or week or month. So we have used the app for which we have sent a alert or message.
Okay, so but we are not planning to send any emails or messages for.
No. We do
only
not
that.
need to send any mail or other things.
Okay,
We
so
share all information through app.
okay, so do we need to build any kind of like UI as well, where we are building some graph to give the user comparison?
No. We can simply share a email. Sorry, share information through the app, in which we show only graphical view in bar chart. कि 10 battery ये कि 10% battery consumption in numbers इतने हैं. In 10 days में you can charge your battery या 5 days या within 1 days में, and your battery consumption is below 10%, so you can go reach to the nearest battery charging station and charge your battery.
I have a question. What is the logic behind identifying the performance of the battery?
No, it's depend upon how much time it take to charge, and within one charge it take we can drive our vehicle in how many kilometers.
So you are saying
Based on
that
this, based on this we have analyzed the performance of the battery.
So in the bar graph that you suggested, it is kilometers against the charge of the battery. So for example, if I have done the 100% charge, then it is said that I can do 20 kilometers, and then you will share the performance report that okay, in 5 days the battery is reduced by 10% or 20%, and in 2 weeks it's reduced by 50%, and in a month it is reduced by 80%. Is that what you are suggesting?
Yeah. Based on the if I have charged a complete battery in 10 hours, and I have drive my vehicle to 100 kilometer or 120 kilometer. So based on this, we can share our comparison performance estimation to the customer. If in single charge you have drive 120 kilometer, and if you drive 80 kilometer or 100 kilometers, so need to charge your battery again before discharging the battery.
battery estimated life in days is like, say for example, I charged my battery today, then how many days it is going, after how many days it is going to be discharged, even if I don't use my vehicle. Is that
If you do not use your vehicle, to I think it near about take 4 to 5 months.
Are we getting any kind of a data from those like battery manufacturer or third party?
We
like
already get
every-
information. We already get information for the electric battery manufacturer. If you do not use your car last 3 or 4 months, so your battery is not fully discharged. So you can drive your vehicle to 10 to 20, 50 kilometers.
Yeah, I mean, my question is, there are two kind of things what we can do. First thing is, on if we are getting any third party data, where the battery manufacturer will give us some kind of a like historical data, like if your battery is 6 months old, then it can only survive like till 100 kilometers, and if your battery is like 2 years old, then it can only survive for 3 months, and after 3 years, we have to change the battery. So either we can just use the same third party data and we can generate the graphs and we can send it. Second option is, are you looking some kind of a calculation from our side where we can calculate, like suppose if we are our vehicle is for the last 1 month performance of the vehicle, where 3 months back the full charge in full charge the vehicle was drawn like 100 kilometers. Now for the last 10 days, even after full charge, it's only going till 80 kilometers. So if these kind of a data we have to calculate and we have to do it, or we have to only rely on the third party data like the battery manufacturer data, and we have to only show those kind of numbers.
In initial time, we have used a third party data. When after we have developed our application and when we get the real time data through the app, then after that we have update or improvise our application for further.
So
in-
this
in
requirement
next phase.
this requirement is not part of this feature right now.
No,
We are
not for
only
client side.
going with, yeah, we are only going with the third party data.
Third.
Okay.
Send battery.
Now I think it's Scrum Masters.
Yeah, so if every details are listed, so can we story point or give the t-shirt size estimation? Or if we have any other questions, we can also ask.
You just need to double click on the sticky, and once you double click on the sticky, then you can drag and drop.
What
Just
part?
double click on the sticky, and then drag and drop, and then put it your estimates.
I have one more last question for the product owner. Are we already integrate? We already have an integration with the third party battery developer, or for this particular feature?
No,
have to
we
do the
get a raw
integration?
data from third party. We do not through the API. We get a raw data for last 1 year. Yeah, as 1 year user experience based data, which is shared by third party to us.
So what we understood, like from the business requirement, we fetch the data from the third party, and that data should be represented in our application.
No. Mega, we do not need to fetch data from third party. We already receive the third party data through the in Excel or CSV format. We need to firstly import this to the DB and fetch information and make a graph and share to the user.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That we get the data from third party, and then we can store that in our database, and we can represent it.
Yeah, fetch and represent through graph or other.
Yeah.
I think we are done. 3 of us already give the estimate, right? M, and L.
So we have two M and 1 L.
Yeah.
So who has given L?
I mean, it's me, I gave L. And the reason for me to give L is because even we are only consuming right now the third party data. So we just need to, according to the data, what we are getting from the third party, we just need to build some kind of a matrix, and then on weekly and monthly or whatever the requirement we have to send it to the application notifications. But The reason of L is because we are not sure we have to only send it in the notifications or we have to only send it in some kind of a dashboard on the application. So what is the right implementation we have? Because we
But
never
I
work with
understood,
these
like,
kind of
we-
a notification, so that's why we gave it L.
So what I understood, that we need to basically specify that into the application in the form of bar graph, where we are just giving the there is no notification, it's just a representation in our application where the bar graph will be there. So
Yeah,
please
but there is a requirement in this on this feature where we have to also notify the customer about the approximate battery change date. Like suppose if there is a 2 months and 3 months. So are we sending any reminder for that part, or it's like only on dashboard we will just show the date, like this is the date where you have to be change your battery.
So, okay, I find this question relevant. So, Shravan, can you please answer this? Like, what is the use case about it? Like, about the notification, how we are basically showcasing that?
No, we show notification through the app. We day basis, weekly or monthly basis.
So
It
we are
is a auto populated notification which when user open your app, he get a notification ki you go to you charge your battery within 3 days, 5 days, or your battery consumption is below less than 90, you have consumed 90% your battery. So please charge your battery as soon as within 1 day. Yeah, today.
I think,
Like
Shravan,
this.
you have misunderstood the requirement from the client. They next approximate battery change date is about when we have to change the whole battery from the car, and it is not about when you are supposed to charge it.
See, in this all we need to we need to share all information with the user. When we have sell your electric vehicle, already mentioned that ki battery lifetime is battery electric battery lifetime is 3 year, yeah, 4 year, yeah, 28 months, yeah, 36 months already defined.
Yeah. So my
But-
question is, are we sending any kind of a alert to the customer? Like suppose the battery life is 3 years. Now we are already on the last month. Are we sending any kind of alert? Like only 1 month is left. It's better if you have to change your battery, or we are only showing some kind of a date on the dashboard and we are not showing any kind of alert and notification.
No, we do not need to show pop-up alert for all time.
Okay.
Simply we have so ki total 12 month, yeah, 1 year, yeah, 8 months is remaining.
Yeah.
So please
That's right.
make sure
Then I
you
think-
have change your battery as soon as possible.
Then I think we can go with M. The reason, because then it's pretty much simple, because when we are installing the batteries, we will know the life of the battery and we just need to just show the one fixed date. It's not like we have to check on the basis of performance and stuff. So then I can come with the M.
And if still there are some confusion, so I ask product owner to reconfirm the requirement based on the ideas we get, and if there is some change, so that we can take up in the next sprint or in the next call.
Yeah, definitely. I have discussed with the client, and if
There is some
if
requirement,
any other requirement
we
is
can
required.
re-estimate the user story.
So now I
Yeah.
think we can put M inside the t-shirt because
Yeah.
they all are agree on M.
Should I do that or you?
Yeah, I think because you're the facilitator, right? So it's a facilitator's responsibility to just
How
update the
do I
things.
do it? I don't know.
Yeah, just double click. Just double click and just type M.
Okay, done.
Yeah. So now so that's how we are doing at the feature level. So things are, we are still doing at the very high level because the requirements are very vague, right? So that's why we are using, because all the relation of these feature sizing is with the in terms of the weeks or in terms of the months. Now this is for to give a high level projection to our client and customer how many months or weeks we need to build these things. Now we are moving into the second phase, which is the story point estimations. We are using the same example of the electric vehicle and battery and stuff. What we will do is, now we are doing a discussion at a very small requirements. Might be one of the features, which is the performance report. There are the stories related to the same. So this is the story of the first feature. These are the story of the second feature. And this is also a story of the first feature. Yeah, so these you can see these are the two stories of first feature, and this is the story of the second feature which we discussed. But these are very granular level now. So we will use a story point technique, and how we will do it. Let me just quickly open this. Just give me a second. Now this time we'll use the planning poker. Like you're all familiar of the planning poker, right? So for the estimations, we will use the planning poker link. I'm sharing the new link with all of you. You all can join this link. How many of you already familiar of the planning poker?
I am not.
Okay. So you can just quickly join. I think this one doesn't require a login. You just need to put your name and then you can join. You can see Megha, Neha already joined. Vinayak, Shravan, Nitin. So generally, we are using cards when we are doing the estimation in actual real time in a room or something. But because nowadays people are connecting virtually, so we are using the same thing, same cards, which you can see on my screen, and these are virtually you have to estimate. So these are the, you can see there is this question mark means where you don't know the estimates. You still have some confusion, so you only go with the question mark. This thing is just for fun, where you're already doing the meeting for more than 2 hours, 3 hours, and you need some coffee break. So you can say, I can't estimate, I need a coffee break. And then rest, there's a Fibonacci series like 0, 1.5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, 40, 100. We can go it to, we can increase it, but right now we are only keeping this one because when you're doing an estimate at the story level, it's better if you go with the as small as possible. Because when we are writing a story, there is a separate session on story writing where we will talk about the invest principle, where each of your stories follow the invest principle, where your story should be independent, should be negotiable, should be small, should be testable. So which follows the or valuable. So these are the 5 concepts we have when we are doing the story point, story writing and story estimations. So that we will go in a separate session. But right now, what we will do is we will just try to understand. And this time, I will play the Scrum Master role, and I will give you the. I will just clarify these things, the stories. I know the details is missing. So what I will do is I will try to give a small brief on the detail is what we are going to build, and then you guys have to come onto this link, and according to you, what you think is it a 1 pointer, 2 pointer, or 3 pointer, you have to do it. But before that,
Based on that, like how we can give that pointer, like based
yes.
on.
So before, so now this is the exercise which we will do. Before that, we will try to understand the story points. What is story points? Why we need a story points? How we can relate? What is the relation between story points and time? So these things we will first try to understand. Okay. So this is, you can see, this is the phases how we are going to do this. When we are doing an estimate, if you are working in a completely fresh new team where you don't know the project is also new, your team is also new, you don't know that there is no like how much time you need to finish that work. So at that time we are going with our gut feelings at the initial phases. According to you, there should be some relation we are setting up. This is not in a good practice, but when you are working on any fresh team, you have to set up a relationship where one story point is equal to something which you can finish like in 1 to 2 days, 2 point something which you can finish 2 to 3 days, 5 pointer which you can finish in a week or something, 8 pointer which you can finish in a sprint on a 2 week or something. There is just a relation. There is no exact time and story point relationship, which we are not doing. This is not suggestible, but because the team is completely new, we are doing it. Once you already start working in the same fashion and you already worked like 2 sprints and 3 sprints, then after every sprint, we are creating our benchmark stories. We are calling them as a base stories. So if you can see this first part, this says identify your base stories. What it says, let's take in a small example of the same. You are building a login application and you just need to build an UI where there is an only username, password, and that's only a UI. That's it. There is no functionality inside. So when you have, and this is a very basic requirement, right? You have to just design an UI and there is no functionality behind it, only UI. You will say this is a 1 pointer, which we can finish very easily. Now this is for you, this work is 1 pointer. Second thing is, now you say login screen where you also have to do a check, putting username, password, authenticate, and then you navigate to the dashboard. Now this is a slightly complex, so you will say this is a 3 pointer. Now so this is your base story for a 3 pointer. Now you know what is your base story for 1 pointer, you know what is your base story for 3 pointer. Now let's take an example. You are on the same cart page where you have to see different kind of listing where you can see the thumbnail image, you can see the description, you can see the customer rating, you can see the title, you can see the delivery availability expected date. So now this is all are the things. This is the thing which you can say this is equal to 5 pointer. So when you're working in initial days, you are just creating some base stories like this kind of work equal to 5, this kind of work equal to 3, this kind of work equal to 1. Now next time when you are doing any estimations, now let's take, and there is a new story, completely new story. What you will do is you will compare that new work with your base stories. Is this story equal to 1 story pointer? Or is it this new work is equal to 3 story pointer? Or is this new work is equal to 5 story pointer? So that time it's very easy for you to go with the relative estimates because you know what effort you already put it because you already worked on some kind of a similar work. So it's easy for you to estimate. That's the concept of base stories we are introducing when we are doing the estimations, right? If you're already working in some project, you're already working in the sprint mode, make sure you have some base stories. If in your project you don't have any base stories, just check with your Scrum Masters and your Agile coach and just say, can we just identify the base stories? Because you're already working on the project, like suppose in the last 3 months and 6 months, you already delivered a lot of things. So what is the best candidate for your team to equal to 1 pointer? What is the best story or candidate which is equal to 3 pointer? What is the best story which you can put equal to 5 pointer? So once you identify those work which you already completed in your past, now whenever you're doing any new work, you just need to compare that new work with your already completed work. And in that way, it's very easy for you to estimate. Got it? The concept of base stories. Any doubt?
Yes, but I have one question. Let's say, like we have in a sprint, like we have a defined number of days. Let's say if some public holidays are coming or something, so we basically reduce our estimation and we need to commit all the user stories in that particular sprint, right? So that is somehow related to the number of days we have in the sprint. So how to base mark that, like how to say, like if it is a 1 day task or 2 day task, so we can't basically unrelate the story points with the time or days.
Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Estimations and the capacity planning. When we are doing estimations, we are saying for this particular story development, how many, at what level of effort is required. So you're saying this particular story need a 3 story point of effort. So this is equal to 3. The next story is required 5 story point of work. This requires 5. Once you're doing your sprint planning, before the first thing in your sprint planning is your sprint backlog should be estimable. So now you know your sprint backlog is having total of 50 story point of work, right? So this part is done. All your stories are estimated. You know your backlog is 50. Now you are doing your capacity planning. In past sprints, your team is delivering 50 story points. When you're not having any holidays, any leave plans, so your team is delivering 50 story points. So according to that, you should commit all the stories. But in this current sprint, you have 1 public holidays and 2 of your team member already planned 2 days of leave. So that means you cannot plan 50. So when you're doing this, you will say, if there is 9 day of sprint and if you're committing 50 story points, I think it's better if you go with 45 or 40. So now your teams in this current sprint, your team's capacity is 40 or 45. Now, because your 2 team members are also going on a planned leave or something, so that means even you can't go with 45, you have to reduce it. So you will say, now we are only committing 38 or 40, whatever is the calculations you are right now doing. So your backlog is 50 story point, but your team capacity is only 38 story point. Now it's your product owner's responsibility to reduce the work from your sprint backlog and identify the top priority item, which is equal to 38 story point.
So that
And
is
the
the
remaining 12 story point of stories will be going again back into the product backlog.
Okay. So this is the responsibility of doing the capacity planning is of Scrum Master.
Yes.
Okay. Another question is, let's say if I have 3 developer and 2 QA,
Mhm.
and all developers are available, but my 1 QA is going on leave,
Mhm.
let's say for 2 days.
Mhm.
So, and dev is available. So
Mhm.
can I create these dev specific user stories and that can be taken care later in the next sprint for the completion for QA specific user stories?
It's very interesting thing. Scrum suggests we should do a vertical slicing. Vertical slicing means if we are estimating a story, we should estimate end to end. End to end means it includes designing, it includes development, it includes code review, testing, integration, deployment. Everything should be part of those estimations. Now, if you say there is a scenario where one of your QA is not available, so what your team can do that if there is any story which not require QA, and for example is some kind of a refactoring, the existing, because your product is already old product, there is some technical stories which need some kind of a refactoring. So you can say in this sprint we can't take these 3 stories because we have 1 less capacity of the QA, but we have 1 extra capacity of the developer, so we can take some refactoring work. That's one option. Second option is, we know we are short of the QA capacity. We can still commit 38 story points, but we all know we can't deliver 38 because of the shorter capacity of the QA. So with the mutual agreement of your product owner, your team, it's agreeing, right? We will not deliver this last story because we are short of QA. So this last story will be going in as a spillover into the next sprint. And once we have the proper QA capacity, we will test it in the next sprint and then we will release. So these kind of discussions, we should do it during sprint plan. Now your product owner says, no, I have to release these by end of the sprint. I can't wait for another 1 sprint. Then team says, if you really want to take it, then we have to deprioritize something else.
Yeah.
So that discussion should be happen between team, between the product owner, between the Scrum Master, and Scrum Master should facilitate. See, product owners always have everything on high priority. They need each and every item to be delivered in 10 sprint
And
or
to
10
convince
days.
product owner to take the technical user stories that doesn't
Yes.
have the business, it is the toughest part.
This is not a toughest part. That should be part of your process where you say you're already working on some kind of a product which is already on a legacy project, like a 2 years old or 3 years old project. If you really want to be deliver a well quality product to the customer or client, and we will have less bugs and less production issues, it's better if every sprint we are spending at least 20% or 30% of capacity on refactoring, if your product is required. So that should be a mutual agreement between your leadership. And they says, yes, 10% of every sprint should be focused only on the refactoring, or 20% or 10% of the capacity should be only focused on the bugs which we already have in our backlog. So these kind of agreements we should have. Okay, 10% of capacity going on the refactoring, 10% of capacity is only going on the bugs. Now we have 80% capacity left. So when we are doing a sprint planning, we are only taking new feature, new work, which is fitting into the 80% instead of the 100%. That should be a mutual agreement between the product owners, between the team, and that should be followed as a process in each and every sprint. It's not like one sprint we followed and 3 sprint we are only focusing on the business, and then again we are only doing for 1 sprint. There might be some scenarios and instances where in a specific sprint we have to be focused only on the business because there's some critical things we have to deliver. So once in a while we can skip. We can say, okay, in this sprint we are not taking any refactoring, but that should not be the habit every sprint. You have to be just considered on a very specific critical situations.
Okay, we
Yes.
usually in my previous organization, what we are doing, we are keeping sprint 0 between 2 releases so that we can basically do some things that are pending from the previous release. Some kind of technical debt is pending, or we want to spend some time or understanding the user story or doing the architectural design on the user story that are coming in the future. So we are keeping a buffer sprint 0 in between so that we get some
Yeah, I mean,
breathing.
you called it anything, but in Scrum there is no concept of sprint 0.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's understood. Like you're reserving 2 weeks to be just clear your technical depth or whatever backlog you have from your previous release. If you call it a refinement sprint, or you call it an PI iteration sprint, investigation sprint 0, it doesn't matter. But in Scrum, if you're giving any interviews, there is no concept of sprint 0. So make sure when you're giving interviews, you're not using the term of sprint 0. There is no term of sprint 0. There is just a sprint. You will say after every release, we are just reserving 1 sprint. So if your release is after 6 sprint, you will say then sprint 7 is our sprint. Sprint. So you're only working new feature from sprint 8. But that should be part of your continuous sprint. There is no, I mean, how you can put 0 in a regular number of 1 to 10. Definitely 1 to 2.
What we follow now, for every release, we again start the counter, like from 0, 1, 2, 3.
It depends upon your
It's
Scrum
absolutely
Master.
fine. See, unless things are going in the favor of the team and you get in some results and outcome, it's not a hard rule you have to go with an increment. Whatever is best suitable, you can do it. You can go with the alphabet, sprint A, sprint B, sprint C, that also fine. There's no difference, right? Until or unless you are delivering, you're working, everything is fine.
Yeah, that is the best part of Scrum. It's like people use it the way they want. Unless and until you are achieving your goal, I think that should be fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so this is the phase 1. I hope you all understand the basic concept of base stories. So you should have base stories if you are working in a project, and if you don't have, just go make sure your team is identifying the base story. It will help you to better estimate in your next upcoming refinements and sprint planning. Just
No, but Chetan, I have a question around the base story. Now, okay, if it is a same kind of work, then okay, the base story works. But in case if you have every time new things, which is more of where you're using Spike or R&D kind of thing, then having a base story becomes a bit challenging, right?
See,
I
that's
think
the
we will
mistake
not
which
use
people
a
are
Scrum
doing.
in R&D.
Yeah. No, that's the
We will
mistake
not use Scrum.
Yeah, that's the mistake which people are doing. What they are saying, suppose they say we create a base stories in January. Now they are in December. They are still following the same base stories. In the 12 months, your project requirements is completely changed. Half of your team member also resigned and new team members joined. Your team size is also changed. Your product owner is also changed. Lot of things change during the time. So what you have to do is in this scenario, every 3 months or 2 months, you should also refine or revalidate your base stories. You should not fix the base story in January and follow till December. If you create a base story in January, just cross check in the March, is those base stories are still relevant, or we can create a new benchmark stories. We can say, I will give you the reason. When you start a new project, your whole team is new. So the work or the time they need to create a one page that they can say 3-pointer. But after 6 months, now they know end to end of the whole project. Now they are also having very good communication skills and bonding with the team member. Same work they're delivering in one story point after 6 months. So what you will do after 6 months, the same benchmark stories which you put 3-pointer in January, it could be a 1-pointer in June. It's not relevant. So after every time, you have just refined your base stories. That's for the, so that we all are aligned. Now for your question where you say, every time we are getting a new requirement, new features. See, from business point of view, it's a new. From a developer point of view, until unless you're using the same technology, suppose if you're using a Java as a backend, no matter whatever the new requirement you have, you know how the current project is work, you can still relate with the technical part of that story. Right? If you're saying login screen is your benchmark story for 1-pointer, definitely you will not build another login screen. So how this screen is relevant, but the UI, the effort which you're putting, there are 2 text boxes, there are 2 labels, there are 1 button. This whole work you are saying 1. So if you have to do the similar kind of a thing where you have to take 2 text boxes, 2 button or 3 labels, you can easily compare. You can say, okay, if this is 1-pointer and in this particular screen, I have to make 10 buttons or 10 labels or 3 text boxes. So definitely it's equal to 3 or is equal to 2. So that's how we are using and comparing with the base stories, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first step. Let's quickly do that, and then if we can do one exercise. Then next step is compare your base story. So let's suppose this is your base story. Now we are working a new story you're discussing. Just compare that with your base story. Okay. Okay. So base story concept is clear, right? Now, next step is once you're done with your base stories, every time at any new stories which you're refining, just compare this new story with your base stories. Is this story equal to 1? Is it equal to 3? Is it equal to 2 or 5? And accordingly, you should estimate. Then third step is you might say, okay, this new story is someone says 21, someone says 13, someone says 8. Definitely there is a discussion is happening. The same thing what we did when we estimated in t-shirt sizing. So we will do the same exercise right now as well. So we will try to do a discussion. Once the discussion is done, after the discussions as a group, we are mutually agreeing on some number. Then that number will be our story point for that story. It could be anything after the agreement. This is the step 4. Step 5 is if that particular story is very big, let's say 21 story point or 50 story points, then definitely it's not achievable in one sprint. If some story is really that big, it's the responsibility of the whole team, including product owner, to try to break down that stories in a smaller part. So how we can break down that requirement in small part, so that we can make it like what it's, let's say this is a 21, make it 2. So 13 and how we can divide it. And that's how we are doing our whole backlog refinement. That's how we are doing in an estimation. So this is the 6 steps which we are following every time. So what we are going to do is we are going to follow the same thing. Anyone have any queries before that?
Yeah, I have one question. Like when, at what parameter we need to decide to break the user stories? Let's say
See,
if
there is no fixed parameter. That's depend on the team. So if you suppose if your team members, they can only deliver 8-pointer in a sprint. They never delivered any 21-pointer or 13-pointer in a sprint. Whenever they take a 13-pointer, it's spilled to the next sprint. So you know the past history of your team. They can only deliver 8-pointer. If one person is working on one story, he or she can only deliver 8-pointer in a sprint. They can't deliver any 13-pointer. But now you have only 13-pointer stories. So that means you can't commit in a sprint. So definitely you have to break down. Now, if you have 3 8-pointers in your sprint and your total capacity is only 20, so you can't put 3 8-pointers, right? So what you have to do is you have to break down any one of the stories so that your team can at least commit the work. These are the different reasons behind those things.
So
Best practice is whenever you have as small as you can break down the story. It's better if you have 10 1-pointer instead of 1 8-pointer, because it's easy for team to
the
do.
logical breakdown of the user story, not in the terms of dev or QA.
No. That we have to avoid it as soon as possible. But there are some circumstances where we have to do it. So once in a while is absolutely fine. But that should not be your practice for each and every story.
Yeah, but what happens now for us, if you consider being a QA member, what I usually face, like for a dev, if it is like we story point as a user story as 8 and we don't have the capacity, we have some 3 points left. So for dev, it is just a small change because 3, but for a QA in the next sprint, we need to run the whole regression. So it can't be 3 for us. So actual story point is basically 8, but if it is going in the next sprint, so it will be around like 5. It will be there. So story point cost will increase. Estimate will increase. That may impact your commitment.
Yes, see, that's what I'm saying. The best practice is if we can do it. Now you know this is only a 3-point of development and 8 5-pointer of QA. Can we break down into 3 stories where we'll say let's say there are 3 acceptance criteria in this story. Can we create one story for each acceptance criteria where development can only implement one acceptance criteria and then it's ready for the QA, and then he can
For
work on the
each,
second and third.
see the complexity is for each sprint where we are splitting it, we QA need to run the regression. So for each sprint, it won't be, earlier it was 8 in total but if we are splitting that into each sprint, so it will be 5 for each sprint for QA. So what if it is, we are splitting that into 3 sprints, so it will be increase of like 2 points in each sprint, so that will affect your estimation. So that is the problem.
See, it's not a
Yeah,
problem.
I think you can convey this message to our Scrum Master or senior.
Yeah, I mean,
As-
see,
as per
it's
your
not a
perspective.
problem. The thing is how we are looking. This is how we should evaluate the quality, right? No matter if you are doing a 1-line change or you're doing a 10-line change, if QA has to do the whole regression, they have to perform the whole regression. And then that should be in some estimations like we are putting these number of story points because we have to execute the whole regression set. So that means if your QA is available for 10 days, then 2 days are only reserved for the regression testing. So 2 days of the QA is already reserved for the regression testing. And the rest of the QA's capacity we are planning for the rest of the work. So that's how we are doing it.
A
See,
separate story
nothing is
for
best.
regression
Nothing
is
is
better.
Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah, a separate story should be there for regression, because
Yeah, I
when
mean,
you are estimating for it includes the end-to-end of the QA. So you cannot bring a regression into that story, right?
But actual estimation was 8, but now it is turning out to be like 15 or 12. So it will increase, and according to the increase in the user story, your timelines for the project will also increase. That was the concern.
Yeah, so when you have an acceptance criteria, right? So so when you are testing it, so you're testing for that acceptance criteria. Okay, you're not testing up for the entire system when you say about the regression, right? So you when you are estimating it, okay, you have to voice your opinion to the PO itself and also to the Scrum Masters that this is the limitation what the QA has. Okay, so if the story is which includes one single, so as Chetan said, so if it has 3 acceptance criteria, better to split down into a single acceptance. So every story has 1 acceptance criteria and the QA has to check for that acceptance criteria. Okay, and when it comes to regression, so have a buffer capacity where the QA can run the entire regression suite. So you have to plan that much capacity and you have to keep that a separate capacity for the regression when regression happens in that sprint itself.
see, there is no concrete fixed solution, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
There is no fixed solution. What we can do is what is best suitable for our project, our team, we can accordingly do that. But what is the best? See, if you're thinking from a long-term perspective for a project, if you are going in the same practice, definitely it's very hard to give a timeline for a project if you're breaking down these things. That's why we are saying when we are doing the quality check and we know the effort is every time after every acceptance criteria, we have to do a regression, and regression costs us like 3 days and 4 days. So instead of fixing this particular process, what we can best do is we can introduce the automation. Can we introduce some kind of automation so that we can reduce the actual manual effort of the manual QA to do a regression every day? There will be an automation script. We will do that. So what is the best, if we are thinking for a long perspective of a project, what is the best way to saving the cost in terms of the each individual, in terms of the whole project? Accordingly, we will take the decisions. Okay. We're already running out of time. So, but it's fine. The concept is clear. What we will do is quickly for the next 5 minutes, I will only take your another 5 minutes and then we will done for the day. This is the one requirement. Let me keep, I already shared my screen, right?
Yeah.
So this is the one requirement from the same. Now we have to view the low battery sign on the meter. So we discussed one feature, right? Where we have to show some battery signs on the dashboard and stuff. Now this is one of the stories. We have to show the low battery sign on the meter. This is one of the requirement. And for that part, we have to estimate if and what is that. So I will just quickly detailed out. So what is really required is when the battery is full, it will show us a green mark. When the battery is going down, there should be some kind of a bar which shows us how much percentage of battery left. When the battery is going less than 10%, there should be the whole battery sign turns into red. And if it's going less than 5%, then it starts blinking as well. So these kind of small alerts we have to build in the display. So this is the requirement of one story. Anyone have any questions? No?
No, I
So,
think
so this is the story, and all the pointers that you have just listed out are the tasks that
Yes.
are part of this story.
Yeah,
Like
these are the acceptance criteria. For
acceptance
the product
criteria.
owner, these are acceptance criteria. Now, how the development team is doing, they can do it. If they really want to do it in terms of subtasks for each acceptance criteria, they can do that. If they want to create one subtask for backend, one subtask for front end, one subtask for QA, one subtask for integration, that's also fine. Subtasks are only for the comfort of the team. For the product owner, it doesn't matter. Product owner, the only thing matters is if there are these 5 criteria, 5 acceptance criteria, he or she only accept the story once all the 5 acceptance criteria are done. Right? So it's clear. If clear to all of you, this is the planning poker link I already shared. You just need to select one number from the board. Can you select one number? Megha, Neha, Vinayak, Shravan. Nitin, you're also joining?
I'm not able to join that room.
What it says? I mean, it's a.
You have to
open-
sign up first.
No. It's not. You just need to put your name. That's it.
you need to click on the last link. I think you're clicking the first link, the planning poker, which was pinned.
Scrum Poker.
Sign up is required.
Okay, let me sign up and comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Megha, are you there?
Just back in 2 minutes, huh? Give me some.
Okay, it's fine. So what we will do is we'll go with these estimates. So we will have 3 estimates. Okay. Now you can see my screen. I got the estimates, but I will just click on the show button. And now we can see Neha says 8, Shravan and Vinayak says 3. So Neha, why you think it's 8?
So, since we are checking the battery performance, we have to constantly monitor the battery discharge value, and we have to constantly check. There's going to be a constant process continuously checking the battery performance, and we have to reduce the bar as per the battery consumption, and we have to show the alert as mentioned in the acceptance criteria that once the charge is full, it has to be green. When it reaches 10%, we have to turn it red, and at 5 we have to make it start blinking. So there is going to be a background job which is continuously checking the battery discharge value, showing the bar chart reducing with each cycle. When we check that, okay, this much battery is reduced, so there's a continuous backend process. The UI is very simple, but because the job is running, it is going to continuously work. So I think that it will take 8 story point.
Any thoughts on 3? Nathan, Vinayak, or Sharman? Why you guys think it's 3?
Yeah,
I,
because,
Chetan,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think yeah, actually we have give a 3-pointer because there is no need to rewrite code or generate file data. You get battery status in continuous way. We not only run a cron job and our work is already done. So that's
Already
the way
worked on similar story earlier.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
just have to fetch the values through APIs, and we just since we are already retrieving the values, so we just have to set a threshold. So once we get on this threshold, so the next is we display the color of the LED, and the same has to be displayed on the indication. So fairly based on my experience, I am rating it to 3.
Okay. Neha, what's your thought now? Do you want to change your estimates, or you're fine? You still want to go with 8?
No, I'm fine with the cron job approach and the threshold thing. Since we are reusing the existing code and not building from the scratch, we can definitely go and change it to 3.
So after discussion, we all are aligning and agreeing on 3. So I will put the estimate for this story is 3. So let me just quickly put it. So the estimation for the story is 3. So similarly, we will do, there is another stories. Right now we don't have time, so it's fine. So we have to do it. We have to go in the detail. This is a send alert to riders on low battery. On the app, if we are sending, or we will discuss and accordingly estimate. Similarly, there is another one which says the estimated kilometers calculated on low battery. Like if there is less than 10, so it continuously giving you alarm like 10 kilometers you can still drive, and as it's going 9, 8, 7, it will give you some kind of a like indication how many kilometers still your electric vehicle can drive. So that's another thing, or your kilometers can also turn into red or something. So that's how we are doing the estimations. These are the requirements. We will again do the planning poker. And if there is a change, like suppose 3 people says 8, 2 people says 1 and 3, there is a lot of variation, then at that time we will just quickly do a revote. Like I just clean it, you guys can quickly do a revote and then I will show it. But when there is like 3 people says, like in our case, 3 says 3, 1 says 8, and after the discussion, the 8 says it's fine, I can come into 3. But if you still don't want to convince, then you can say, okay, I want to do a revote, and then we can do a revote. Might be someone from the team is also convinced with your idea why you gave 8, and the new estimations could become as 5. So that's how we will use a planning poker, and then we will put the same estimate at the bottom of the list, the story. That's how we are doing. So this exercise we are doing either during our refinement or during our sprint planning. Now, suppose these are the 3 stories. Similarly, suppose if there are 10 stories, the total estimation of 10 stories is after 3, 5, 8, if you calculate it going 55, but your team's capacity is only 50. So now it's your product owner's responsibility to which story he or she deprioritize, because the team can only take 50. So team will only commit the 50, and the additional story points will going into next sprint. Now, if the product owner says this is the 50 story point work we have, then we will do the capacity check. How much capacity we have of development or QA or designer. Accordingly, we will again do a discussion with the product owner. That's the second part of the sprint planning. First part of the sprint planning is make sure your backlog is ready and you have a sufficient work for the team. And the second part of the sprint planning is where you can check your current capacity in the sprint, and according to that capacity, you will do that. There are different kind of scenarios. One scenario which just Megha said, you just have a release in last sprint. So if you have a release in the next sprint, if you're not reserving 2 weeks, what you can do is you just release something on the production, so you're expecting some kind of production bugs or something. So then you will say, because we release something on the production, in the next sprint we are reducing our capacity by 30%, 40% to just give a support to the new production release. So these kind of factors, we should not go with a fixed number of 50 every time. We should reduce or increase according to the availability of your team or circumstances, what circumstances you have, right? So those are the things we should consider in the sprint plan. So that's it about these two methods of the story point estimations and t-shirt size estimations, and where we can use what. Now, if anyone have any queries.
Say, say for the first time, if you're working with the people and and the project is completely new, you haven't worked on a project like that before. So, how do you design your base tickets? Like, how do you do that? You don't do that. You just go by your gut.
Yes. See,
Neha,
if your
Neha,
team
I
is
think
new, the biggest problem is not about the work. The biggest problem is the communication between the team members. If I'm your team member and if we are just, I mean, I met you first time yesterday, how I can identify if you are a developer, I am a QA, I don't have a trust on you, right? It takes time to build a trust, to build a relationship where I can just quickly say, Neha, did you check that part? Did you consider that part? After a certain time, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, when we both are meeting and interacting in different kind of meetings, now we understand each other. There is a relation between both of us. Now we are both are confident, and now we are in a state where we can say, okay, in the last sprint, that was our first sprint, we delivered 10 story points as a team, but I think now we can take 15 in next sprint, and you take 15 but you spilled, you can't deliver 15 by XYZ reasons, so you again commit less in the third sprint. After doing these back and forth, after 5 sprints, 6 sprints, you are at a stable stage where your communication is good, you have a better understanding, you have a better trust. Now this is the time for you to create your base stories.
Okay.
And then you will create a base stories according to your past experience. And then you will every time compare with this. But when you're starting a new team, scratch, go with the gut feeling. Gut feeling of your team members might be you have one team member who's having 10 years of experience. You have a 2 team members who are only 2 years of experience. But you can't go according to their experience, because after a month you realize the guys who's only having 2 years experience are more skilled than the guy who's having 10 years of experience. So you can't judge people on the basis of their number of years of experience, on the basis of what technology they understand. You can only judge on the basis of how they are fit in your team and what level of work they can commit. So that's why initial 2 sprints are completely going on the gut feeling.
Okay. And considering the fact that, say for example, take a website building thing, okay, and let's put a technology like Nuxt and Vue, which is currently in market. So I am coming with the experience of HTML, CSS, WordPress as a platform, and I know that okay, even a basic HTML conversion PSD design converted into HTML takes say about 2 to 3 days, and then you can build that design on WordPress in 3-4 days. And also I know the rough estimation that we can do, and I know a ballpark story points and subtasks that are associated with that. Now I should refrain myself in terms of estimation, but I can help the team in building these user stories and tasks when we are doing the discussion of the project, because this is not the technology that I worked on, but I have done work on a similar project, right? This should be my approach, right?
Yes.
So I should refrain myself in
my
terms of
my question is, what role you are playing here?
project manager, PO, product owner.
Why you are giving the estimate then?
So that's what I'm saying now, that I have anti thing, right? So I have to anti pattern, yeah. So I should refrain myself after going through with this thing. It's a occupational hazard that if somebody says that this will take 3 days, but because you have already worked on a similar project, you will say like, okay, explain me why does it take 3 days. But now you don't say that, explain me why does it take. you say कि no, मैंने जब काम किया था 3 दिन नहीं लगे थे, तुम 3 दिन क्यों बोल रहे हो? But I think this session has helped me in rephrasing things. So I'm saying that I am about to plan a project, so I'm going to refrain myself in the estimation, considering that I am the product owner doing the stakeholder management and doing the story
See, let's take a
story
simple
breakup.
example here. Okay, let's take
Huh.
a simple example. Now we all are attended this workshop for last 3 days. Okay, I am having better understanding on the same workshop of estimations. Okay, now we all have to give a same presentation to our teams. I will say I can give it and I can make sure everything will cover in 30 minutes. Do you have that confidence to do that? No, right?
No.
So how you are going with my estimates? You can't go with my estimates.
Yeah.
Then why you are asking your team to just because you worked on similar kind of a technology? Might be, let's take an example, you worked on the same tool, same technology which your team is going to work, right? So you have a better understanding, but it doesn't mean your estimates are really aligned with the team. If you have something, let's take an example, you are coming from a technical background, you already worked 10 years, you have a very good understanding of the core and technologies and stuff. It's for you, that's a 2 days of job, but for rest of your team, the whole technology is new, they never worked. What the first thing is, they will say, we can't work on this because the new technology, we need some kind of KTs and trainings and workshop so that we can understand. So that should be your first step instead of giving the estimation. Then your next step is, once you're done, your team is having at least some confidence. Definitely they can't give you a 100% surety because technology is new, but at least after attending workshops, trainings, and some kind of certifications, they say, yeah, I mean, now we can work on. But still you have to just refrain yourself to give any single story estimates on your experience. Okay, what suggestions you can give? I will tell you what you can give. When your team is stuck, how we can approach technically, because you have a technical background, you can say, in these situations, we can try this particular technology, we can try this web service, we can try this API. This might help. You're not giving any timelines. You're only helping them to just figure out the right place which might fit or not fit in your current situation of the project. So the mindset which you have to come out is, it's not your responsibility to give the estimates.
But let me give you a real world thing. So I have committed 6 weeks to the client,
How
and
you committed without considering with the team?
I have consulted with the subject matter expert. Let's just say that, okay?
कैसा
And
नहीं
that
होता है?
person has
कैसा नहीं
said,
होता है?
तो होता है, ये मैं real world
कैसा
बता
होता
रही
है
हूँ, ठीक है ना? So we have to consider this case scenario here, ठीक है? अब नया प्रोजेक्ट आया, SME ने बोला प्रोजेक्ट का रिव्यू कर लो, ठीक है? और you give me the estimate and these are your resources, ठीक है? ये सीनियर बंदा दे रहा हूँ मैं, ये तुम्हें मैं जूनियर बंदा दे रहा हूँ मैं, और ये तुम रहोगी प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर. और ये मैं करंट प्रोजेक्ट की बात करूँ, दिस इज माय करंट प्रोजेक्ट दैट आई हैव टू गिव द कोटेशन, ठीक है? अभी हमने 3 ऑप्शंस दिए क्योंकि डॉलर में प्राइसिंग कर रहे हैं तो बहुत बड़ा जा रहा है, तो मैंने 3 वेरिएशंस दिए अभी SME को अपने, कि बता दो कि क्या रिजेक्ट नहीं होगा. तो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि हम मेरे फाउंडर जो भी SME है उसने बोल दिया कि प्रोजेक्ट तो 6 वीक में खत्म होगा ही होगा. अब उसका क्या, उसको कैसे 6 वीक में करना है वो ठीक है. तो ऐसे केस में क्या होता है कि जब हमको लगता है कि हम 1-2 हफ्ते के बाद जब रिसोर्स मरा लेते हैं, आई एम फ्रॉम दिल्ली, तो ठीक है, तो उसके बाद फिर SME हम लोग बोलेंगे कि या तो रिसोर्स बढ़ा लेते हैं या क्या नाम है एक्स्ट्रा टाइम करते हैं, बट क्लाइंट को तो हमने 6 वीक्स किया है. दैट्स हाउ प्रोजेक्ट फेल्स. क्यों? क्योंकि या तो आपने प्रॉफिट नहीं कमाया प्रोजेक्ट में, या फिर आपका एंड टू नेक ही हो गया कि जितना आया है उतना ही चला गया, क्योंकि आपने प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट करने के लिए रिसोर्स बढ़ाना पड़ गया था. तो कॉस्ट तो लगेगी ना, रिसोर्स की पैसे तो दे ही रहे हो उसको सैलरी. तो
There is no concrete best solution, but how generally we are selling is, you're saying, so there is a very good quote from one of the founders. He says he's dealing in 3 things: quality, time. Okay, one is the quality, second is the time, and third is quantity. And the client can only choose 2, any 2 of them. Either they are choosing quality and time, so that means they have to adjust with the quantity. If they need a best application with a fixed time, so they definitely will not get the good quantity of work. They will get some less quantity of work because team has to focus on the quality part. If the client is focusing on the quantity and the time, they says, no, I need all 10 features in 6 months. So your quantity of 10 features is fixed. Your time is also fixed. Then your client has to compromise with the quality. You can't deliver all 3 things at the time. If they says, I need all 10 features, quantity, they can't compromise. Quality, they also can't compromise. That means they have to compromise with the time. That means if you need all 10 features with the best quality, then definitely you have to increase the time. So when we are doing a discussion with any of the client, you have to tell them, we are dealing in these 3 parameters. You can fix 2 parameters, and the third parameters we will tell you according to our capabilities. Now it's on up to client what 2 parameters they want to fix out of these 3. So that's how we should pitch in the client. In your case, if your time is fixed, quality, definitely no one compromise in the quality. Then definitely you will say it's fine. We can give you all 10 features, but in this time and this quality, we can only give you these 7 out of 10. And these 3 features might have a risk. We will try to deliver it, but we are not committing those 3. But those 7 we are committing. So that's how we are doing in a client conversation instead. Right? I mean, I hope this answer will help. Okay, now I'm stopping the recording.